Hello, welcome back to the Glow Up series. This is a reminder that this journey is meant to be very fun, healthy, real, human, loving, and not shaming, not perfect, and not unrealistic expectations. Today, we're going to be talking about confidence. And confidence isn't something you suddenly get, it's something you build through repeated small actions and how you interpret your experiences. I used to think my confidence level was set in stone. I am always a person who looks down when I walk. I constantly say, I'm sorry, I'm so awkward, and I don't know how to act in a room full of people. But it's actually something you can build and work on, and think of it more as a skill than a personality trait. Start with how you talk to yourself. If your inner voice is constantly saying, I can't, I'll mess up, you're training your brain to expect failure. You don't need to have to fake positivity to shift something to a more neutral and useful, like, I'll try and improve. That alone can change how you approach things. Try and catch one negative thought each day and rewrite it. For example, I am so used to being like, I'm awkward, changing it to, I'm still learning social skills, or this is new to me, but I'll get better with practice. Or you can even use a positive affirmation, I am gaining confidence every day. I try to remove words like I can't, never, always if it isn't associated with something positive. So I shift my mindset to, if what I said was true, would I be the person I want to be? For example, me saying I am always awkward does not align with the person I want to be, but I am building opportunities and meaningful connections and something I do want to align with. But if something happens, which it often does, if something happens that doesn't align with me, like being late, right? Replacing harsh statements with accurate ones. For example, instead of saying I never make it on time to events or I'm always late, change it to I wasn't on time today, but I can change that in the future and then take some action steps. And this is kind of silly. I don't know if it would help anyone, but my mom said in college, before I think they had phones, so I'm not sure how it would work now. She had like, I have one of them over there. It's like a digital clock. And she would always set it earlier than it was. So it kind of tricked her brain to be like, oh, I'm going to be late if I don't start moving. Some small things you can do is writing down or thinking about three things that you handled well that day. Even if they are small, it still counts. Setting reminders on your phone to say affirmations or just catching yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Does that align with me and who I want to be or not? And one other thing is affirmations, just in general. I personally just love affirmations. You can do them when you're getting ready for the day. I personally like listening to them and repeating them on the way to work or just when I'm driving in general. The next thing we're going to be talking about is small wins. Confidence grows from evidence. If you try and jump into big, scary challenges, you'll probably reinforce doubt. Instead, pick manageable steps, things you can realistically complete, and build momentum. Each success, even a small one, gives your brain proof that you are capable, which you are. So, some things you can try is start one conversation. For example, I was in town with my family and it was so hot and humid outside, and we were walking around and they were just chatting outside. There was an art gallery next to it, and I went inside and it just smelled so amazing. Obviously, the AC felt nice as well, but the smell, it was like a coconut scent. And I walked back out and I was telling my family, I'm like, oh my gosh, it smells so good in there. And I was like battling with myself, like, do I want to ask? Like, would that be weird and all this stuff in my head? And then before we left, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ask. And my family obviously was very supportive. And the woman was so sweet too, and actually let me take a picture of the candle she had. It was coconut. It was something small, but it wasn't overbearing, but it still gave me confidence. And if I wouldn't have asked, I definitely would have regretted it because I thought it was like the perfect scent for my bathroom. The next one is making a phone call or a text. For me, I don't know if it's the day we live in with like losing connection with actual people because phones nowadays make it easier than ever to connect with people. But I don't know if it's just the phone connection is being different from the in-person connection or if it's because I just don't live close to my grandparents like my cousins did. But I always felt like this pull to call or text my grandparents, but I don't know why, I just felt so nervous too. And just like the candle, obviously on a much bigger scale, I just didn't want to regret anything or thinking I miss my grandma and want to reach out but being too awkward to call. But this could also be a friend. Maybe you guys could set weekly or even monthly calls with each other. Another one is finishing a task you have been avoiding. I know I always think it's probably worse than it actually is, the thought of it. And then when I'm actually doing it, it's like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. And the last one is something I'm so guilty of. It's asking one question in class or in work. I believe like all of school and like most of college, I actually asked a lot of questions and participated in class. But I remember this one time in college, my professor asked a question and he called on me and I made an answer that was so confident. Like I truly believed it was the right answer and it was absolutely incorrect. And it's not that like I never got incorrect answers wrong, but it was something that in that moment was so confident crushing. And it was the first time I actually felt my face get red from like embarrassment, from blushing. And I'm not someone who gets like embarrassed often. I mean, I do embarrassing things, but I never let it define me. And I usually just like laugh it off. But ever since that moment, I was so scared to ask questions in college. And now, even in my current position, I was terrified to like quote unquote bother people. And so I have to make a lot of phone calls for work. And when I would talk, they would literally have to ask me over and over, like, oh, what were you saying? I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying because I was scared of being too loud in the office, which no one else in the office was worried about. It's all in my head. But trying to do things to gain my confidence back, I now walk up to people in the office and ask a question. And I don't mind being a normal volume when I make a call. And no one has ever said anything. And usually when I ask a question, people are more than happy to help. Just doing small things to remind yourself that you are safe and it's okay. Another way I heard it used is the 10% rule. So don't aim for like huge jumps, but making it small and slightly uncomfortable, but achievable. Remember, you can say hi to someone, you can start a conversation, you can join group discussions, you're allowed to take up space. Another big piece is action despite discomfort. People often think confidence comes first, then action, but it's usually the opposite. You feel nervous and you act anyway. You survive or succeed, and then your confidence increases. Avoiding situations keeps confidence low. So I don't know if I was like a sheltered child or just not adventurous. Vacations would be driving to the beach or to my grandma's house. I didn't start flying until high school, and it became something I didn't grow up on, so I was scared of it. I never went on cruises or anything outside of just my small bubble. Well, in college, there was an opportunity to go to Italy for a study abroad, and I was like, well, I don't know when I'm ever going to be out of the country again, if I ever go out of the country again. So I'm going to travel around Europe. I went to Asia. And my mom met me there in Europe. And one of the places she took us to was Austria. And it was beautiful. The train ride, the bus ride, it was just absolutely beautiful. I was excited to be on the ground again after like all the flying I had done. And then we get to this mountain, and there is this huge lift. And I have been on some lifts before in Japan, like to see Mount Fuji, but you're not going to the top of Mount Fuji. It's like, eye level to Mount Fuji. And so it was high, but it wasn't as intimidating for me for some reason in this experience. Looking at how big this mountain was in front of me and knowing that I had to go on that was terrifying. And everyone was piling in, and I was terrified. I was in the cart and I actually got off because I was so scared. I had to calm myself down with my breathing. And I was like, Mom, I can't get on. I can't do this. And for some reason, like the last second of I don't even know. I was like, screw it. You only live once. I went on and I was so scared. Not that it was unsafe. It was completely safe. People would ride it all the time, every day. It was just something that I was uncomfortable with. And I never, ever would take back that memory. It was breathtaking views. It was gorgeous. It was a wonderful hike, a memory with my mom that I will never forget. But it took courage and I ended up with confidence. So some things you can do if you want like me to count down just like from 5 or 3, 2, 1, or start counting down and just do it. Start immediately before overthinking. And if it's something like a conversation that you're doing that might be scary, try and stay in the conversation for at least 5 minutes. Say it's a group setting and you're starting a conversation, maybe try and do it for 5 minutes. There's also something called the fear ladder. Obviously, I don't recommend doing what I did, which is just jump on a plane, jump on these terrifying things. Literally gave me nightmares. But the fear ladder is writing situations from easiest to hardest. So the first one can be giving a compliment to the barista. The second one can be starting a conversation with a woman in the line at the grocery store. And you can practice one level repeatedly until it feels easier, and then you can go on to the next one. Confidence grows fast when your skills improve. For example, practicing a skill, whether it's speaking, studying, working out, naturally makes you more secure. For me, YouTube is a big one. I used to be so nervous to talk on camera, and I would talk so fast because of my nerves, and then I would mess up and had to redo like so many times, you have no idea. But now I write my script, and in my head, I'm talking slower and more confident, and adding stories that maybe someone can relate to and make it more interactive. But I had to post hundreds of videos between my two YouTube channels before getting to this point. And I do think I'm still very early on in my journey, but I'm happy to continue to show up weekly, and showing up weekly helps build momentum and that builds confidence. And you can spend 20 to 30 minutes improving one area, whether that's fitness, communication, public speaking, career skills, hobbies, and you can track your progress as well, like a workout log, study tracker, before and after comparisons. I personally have my YouTube videos that I can look back on and see in what ways I have improved and what ways I can get better. Next, don't overstimulate how much others are judging you. Most people are focused on themselves. That realization can take off a lot of pressure. I know for me and my women's group, I have a women's group I go to every Tuesday, and they are so kind. There's no reason for me to think this, but I always leave thinking I talk too much. I take up too much space. Oh, they don't really like me. And when these nervous feelings come up, ask yourself, is this really true? Will this matter in a week? Am I assuming people care more than they do? Remember, you are safe. You are allowed to be confident and be who you are. You can ask a question without feeling nervous, wear something you like without feeling like you need someone's permission. You can share your opinion and post content online. And then we're going to talk about physical confidence. And if I sat here and said appearance didn't play a role on how my confidence was, I would be lying. I know my confidence significantly dropped when I became heavier. I was so self conscious. I didn't want people to see me. I would avoid conversations with people at work, specifically because I wasn't taking care of myself and I wasn't living to my true potential in that area, or even like a sliver of that potential. I stopped showing up for myself. And as we know, showing up for yourself is what gains a lot of confidence. So I lost confidence because I made empty promises to myself that I never kept. And then it started to show on the outside. And I did it for so long. And even though I think I've talked about this before, like even though my appearance probably hasn't changed very much, like confidence has gotten so much better because I'm just showing up for myself. But also appearance isn't the only thing because there are gorgeous and handsome people everywhere who are not confident. And I think it truly is within the action of doing something you said you're going to do and sticking to your own word. Of course, things you can do is sleep consistently, at least 7 to 8 hours, exercise 3 to 5 times weekly, stand upright, make eye contact, speak slower, dress clean and fitted. And something else you can do is record yourself 1 minute daily, and you'll gradually improve your posture, your voice. And one tip I really liked is actually from Jill's, is to pretend to wear a crown on your head. As someone who constantly, like, whenever I walk, ever since I was a kid, I've always like looked down. People would comment on it, like, "Oh, why are you always looking down?" I don't really know why I did, but when I was walking, working out, anything, I just imagined like a crown on my head, and I just feel like it's just a game changer. I feel so cute. But yes, confidence comes from familiarity. Repeating situations instead of avoiding them. The first attempt it feels very scary, and the 10th feels very normal. I know this from flying. The more I did it, the more normal it felt. It's actually, I believe, called exposure therapy. And so the more I flew, the less scared I was. But the longer I go without flying, the fear starts coming back. But you can start with one challenge and just repeat it intentionally. Talking to strangers, interviewing, presenting, going to events, going to eat out by yourself. Consistency matters more than intensity. But yes, that is all I have for this video. I hope this is able to help you or someone you love, and I will see you in the next one.